Florida has hired their new head coach, so we'll be seeing if he can win a national championship only using players from the state of Florida. John Sumrall is who I wanted Kentucky to hire, but that didn't happen, so I'll be using him to take over the Gators. And we already have some really devastating losses to the transfer portal between quarterback DJ Lagway and the Gators star running back. That leaves me with a 4-8 team that's going to be really difficult to get good before next season. And if anything's going to save us, it'll have to be the transfer portal, but remember, we can only recruit from Florida throughout this entire video, and that is going to leave only certain players interested in coming to our school, including a 4-star quarterback. Even if headed into the transfer portal, the Gators only have one guy signed so far, a 4-star corner. The benefit of being stuck recruiting just in Florida is there are plenty of other studs that we can go after, and we'll see which ones we land. We've actually gotten really lucky on Anthony Colandrea. We're going to be able to predict all 3 of his hard sells, plus get him on a visit so we can beat out schools like Alabama. But somehow after putting him on a week 2 visit with one of his potential receivers, he still decided to commit to Clemson. As annoying as that was, Jordan still wants to play for us, which is a good sign. We're just gonna have to find him a different quarterback. And the guy that we settled on, well, it's Keon Jenkins from FIU. He is transferred over to the Gators alongside a lot of these other players that we were able to pick up. Though if you compare our recruiting class to the rest of the SEC, it wasn't too good. It was 3rd to last, almost at the bottom of the conference. That's what's gonna happen when we can only recruit players from one state. And I know that's gonna make the Gators hard to turn around, but there's a lot of talent from the state. Plenty of players have already gotten dev trait upgrades. But I'm not sure how much it really helped out. Keon Jenkins only went up to impact, and his accuracies did not get maxed out for the senior that's going to start. And I figured at least Jordan Faison would be getting up to star or elite dev, but he also only got up to impact as our 3rd best receiver. The receiving core on this team looks great. The rest of it, it's going to be a problem. Now, I have decided to leave on auto player progression for this rebuild because it makes each player's development much more unique. But the downside to that is I can't control when players want to inevitably transfer, and there's a lot of them. I really don't think we're in too bad of a spot, though, looking at all of Florida's grades. The only areas where they struggle have to do with their coaches. But a lot of our success is going to be tied to how well we can recruit out of the state of Florida, and there is a 5-star quarterback, Matt Church, that we are desperately going to want. We are also always going to have a brutal schedule since the SEC just went to 9 conference games. We got Florida State on here. We also ended up getting Miami, so there are so many top programs. We literally have to play 7 of the 10 top 10 preseason teams, and that is why I want to see us find the future of our program out of this class at the quarterback position. Matt Church is a 5-star. He's looking all right, but 88 speed on Theo Hardy, the 4-star, I think I want the kid out of Tampa even more. Then at running back, we could go for someone like Dominic Connors, who is a 93 speed Jim, but I really like the name on Jamichael Landman. It's a great show if you haven't seen it. And we can move past all this recruiting stuff for a little bit. After we scout the other 5-star we'll be targeting, 95 speed on him, you know we're going to try our hardest. You know, I'd say it's really hard to be optimistic about this season, just knowing the teams that we have to face, but Jordan Lively, he is star development. We picked him up out of the transfer portal. He's looking very promising for the next 2 seasons. So we will be leaning on him as we try to walk into Hard Rock Stadium and upset the Hurricanes. This would be a statement win for John Sumrall's first game with the Gators, especially since Jordan Lively transferred in from Miami. But he's going to be taken out for this massive 3rd and 9 after the Gators stop the run there, and we break the tackle with Wilson. We're going to stay on his feet too. I thought we might be forced to settle for a field goal near the end of this 3rd quarter, but we're going for a touchdown. Keon Jenkins, lights out, spins his way in, and the Hurricanes are still within distance of upsetting. Problem is, though, our defense just keeps on giving up points, so we've had to work it down the field again. And by this point, almost all of our running backs are exhausted, besides Duke Clark, who we find in the flat. It just seems like it's not going to matter because we haven't been able to stop Miami. And we pinched our line in case they handed it off on 2nd and goal, so we're stopping them. This is a major 3rd and goal. We can't afford to give it up. I think we've got them thinking. They just take the flat. Why didn't you make the tackle? It's all good. Miami's playing like a bunch of wimps. They're kicking a field goal. And we have taken that opportunity to march straight down the field against them. I thought they were about to pick it. It turns out we are safe, but we're going to give them 2 minutes to respond, and our defense can't even let them get near field goal range. The only problem with that is it's looking like we probably will, and I just need to make them lose some yards here, but instead they rush for a couple more. There is no guarantees that the Hurricanes kicker is good enough to hit from this distance, though. That's the only good news on our side. We didn't get over to that ball, and now we need a blitz. Now we need to force them into a mistake. Maybe we should just let them get into the end zone so we still have a chance. It is never fun to be in this position, but the alternative was we just had no pathway to beating Miami. And that stop on the 2-point conversion means a touchdown does it. We still have all 3 of our timeouts. I thought that was marked as a 1st down, but it wasn't. So we took a little bit more time off the clock than I would have liked. And this is where Keon Jenkins is going to need to make a huge play for us. at least we'll take 5. From here on out, though, it is only deep shots down the field, whether it looks like it could be intercepted or not. And that was such a good throw. We can get off another play, too, with about 6 seconds left to get a little bit closer before our final snap, which is all going to come down to this. We're having a very hard time doing any hot routes. Not really ideal. We just got to get off this snap. This is it. Can we take down Miami? There's one route that we're watching. He is nowhere near the end zone. And I think you all know how this is ending. The good news is in our first year with Florida, we were able to keep it close with the top 6 team, but it's never fun to lose a rivalry. And we actually need Miami to be bad so more in-state players can transfer from their program to ours, since we're not going to win all these recruiting battles. Like on Matt Church, I don't think we have a good chance over Alabama. The only thing we have going for us is we're going to be able to get his hard sell extremely early. And if we really wanted to push for him, we could get him on a visit in week 5 against the Texas Longhorns, which would make things pretty interesting. But he just can't commit to a school before that game, and I don't think he's going to. After dismantling an FCS school, I have a feeling that headed into the Texas matchup, we're going to be sitting at 1-2. Missouri is number 6 in the country. We have to play that on the road. I mean, we knew our whole schedule was going to be brutal. And as I was just looking through it, it is hard for me to say that we're even locked into winning a few games this season. It's not like we're losing these games by a lot so far, but we do need to get some wins. And for some of these players, even though we have hard sells, and the hard sells are working pretty well, we're just going to get obliterated by Georgia and Alabama. The pipelines are tier 5 just like theirs. Maybe it was a little bit delusional, but Florida is a massive program. I thought we might be able to just walk into the state of Florida and wipe the floor for a lot of the prospects in our state, but I'm seeing some losses, including on Matt Church. And that really affects the importance of this game against Texas, because a lot of the players that were going to visit our school during this week already went somewhere else. At least I have some good news at the same time, though. Juan Timms has committed, so we still signed a 5-star recruit, even if we lost another game by a few points, 3 to Texas. And just look at how the board is starting to come together. We have some week 6 visits that are going to make a difference on how big this class gets, 4 and 5 stars wise. Of course, we know that there's some of these other battles that we were not able to pull out. But if we focus in on these 3 big gyms at the top of our board, including quarterback Theo Hardy, I think we found our guy for the future. I will say though, he might transfer out after a year or 2 since he cares about pro potential. It worries me. And we better at least try to defend the swamp against Tennessee before this season gets completely out of hand. I feel like we really have made a statement with this game. We currently have a 7-point lead headed into the final 2 minutes, and Tennessee had to use all of their timeouts just to get the football back. We cannot let them score. Kenny Minchie transferred in to be their quarterback. They got us spread out, but all they're going to have is a check down, making it 4th and 1. And I really don't care if we give up something underneath, as long as they're not scoring. That might come back to bite us, though, because we could have ended the game right there. Now they're sending up a 50-50 ball, and we had our hands on it. That should have been it. Instead, Tennessee, with plenty of time, sends up another one. Castell's getting toasted, and it's all tied. I think we still might be able to avoid overtime, even with a surprise run against them. But what we really need is some big plays, and the checkdowns aren't going to do it. Eugene Wilson III, though, is getting pressed over on that left side, so we're looking in his direction. We're also going to look at our tight end. And this time, Livingston's just going to be on a streak down the field. We can go over to our drag, and we can also get out of bounds. We still have 14 seconds to get into field goal range. A little halfback screen action just got read perfectly. So it comes down to if Keon Jenkins can make one really good throw to get us into field goal range, and Tennessee picked it. Tennessee is the pick, but we can make a tackle with the big man. We just need to slow them down here, and we're good. Do not be alarmed. We are headed to overtime. We can still win over all of these visiting prospects that we won, and we have got to return to the stuff that put us in this position in the first place, just running the football. I'm not sure if Tennessee's going to be able to stop it. I mean, we have the blocks to easily get in, and maybe we can still save this season. We'd only be 2-3, with every one of those losses being extremely close ones. I'm starting to feel some hope, but we need to get in this blitz with Cormani McClain. He was a former 5-star. It's a 50-50 ball, and we should have had that one too. It's literally all going to come down to the fact that nobody on this team seems to be able to catch. He's so open. And on Tennessee's next drive, they've had no issue moving the football as they're about to score again. I'm afraid that we might lose this one too. On the 2-point conversion, feels like everything's guarded. We can knock the ball out, and that's what we needed. We just need a little bit of hope, something to go our way. This is really, really good news, as we got Duke Clark off of the halfback angle route, first play in the end zone. And the question is, do we run it over to that side of the field since running has been what's worked for us? I think we do. It's just not there. Typically, I like to throw in 2-point conversions. Might have been a mistake, but we also didn't go with a very heavy set. I want to see how that plays out, and it doesn't. Now is where things get really scary for us. because they're coming back out in this formation where they scored a touchdown against us. We knew that it was going to be play action. It's a bad throw. And I can't believe that we almost gave that up anyway. It was the same play. I didn't think they would actually run it back. I thought they might have a different look out of it. That's not in. It's just going to force us to have to pick this up. And I'll tell you one thing, we are not going to run it again. It's time that we go through the air. If Tennessee's really sitting in man-to-man coverage, we're going to be able to get in again on this play too. Tight end, open, and it's caught by Livingston. Now what we are going to do is we're just going to play cover 2. Man-to-man coverage hasn't been working. It's a great tackle. And I didn't think we were actually going to get there, but we are winning the third Saturday in September. Tennessee might have had the player of the game with an amazing performance, but all of these guys were able to see what is possible whenever we are playing at our best, and they want to be a part of it. As we simulate against Ole Miss, I actually have a pretty good feeling about this one. But what really happened against them was a flat-out embarrassment, 55-14. We had been losing our games close. This was not close. In fact, if we can win any games before we take on Florida State in week 13, I'm going to be really surprised. That should tell you how I feel about this roster at the moment. It's not looking great. It turns out, though, there was one team that we were able to take down. My guess is going to be Mississippi State. You can have yours, but it was actually Mississippi State. We beat them 38-10 while losing all of these other matchups. So I think you know where we're sitting in the SEC. Currently, there are 5 teams inside the top 15. We've seen even better years out of this conference, and I'm sure they're going to have that in the future, which is what's so scary to me about rebuilding out of only Florida. But I'm committed to staying in just the state. So when we lose battles to Clemson, when we lose battles to Ole Miss, and these players decide to leave our state instead, that's what's so painful to see. The rest of our board is just filled with 3 stars before we try and get some other guys in the transfer portal. And so far, we got the 5-star commit alongside 10 4-star commits, so I feel like we're still doing well. What would definitely help other Florida fans still believe in the process, though, it is year 1, is beating a team like Florida State. And this 3rd and 18 is one of the biggest plays in this game. We have to get it out quick or else we're not going to have a chance at picking it up. I really don't love doing this, but what we have to do is just punt it back to the Seminoles and hope that our defense is able to get a stop. We're already pinning them back inside the 10, the 15, nope, the 20. Either way, we're going to play some quarters coverage and bring a lot of our guys down. We know that they're going to run it at some point, but they're not running here. Nope, they're just hitting us straight up the seam, which is where they should have. What that means is we have one more chance to stay in this game, and that is by not allowing them to pick up a first down. I brought safeties down, but they put Castile in isolation, and they're in the end zone. He simply could not guard both of those routes. I don't know what else he was supposed to do there. Lights Out is going to have a huge drive very quick because we still have 2 timeouts left. I don't want to say it's completely over. We're just going to need some big plays in the process. The potential of this team is just off the charts. It just feels like it's better than they are. But we haven't lived up to it all year. We haven't been able to close out like any games, and this is most likely going to be no different if they're breaking off the tackle. Florida State's basically refusing to run the football, but I think they're about to start doing it, except they're throwing it here for no reason, and that was just out of reach. They're looking to run up the score. We don't even need to tackle them. All they have to do is take a knee. I'm just shocked at the fact that they were not willing to run out the clock and try and run the football. No, they had to throw it against us, and it worked. It was a good decision. We weren't ready. This leaves John Summerall in a spot where we have to decide what we're going to do about our offensive coordinators. I think I want to keep Russ around just because he's a talent developer. He's not really progressed too far down this pathway yet besides for receivers, but that could make a big difference. Then we have Ron Roberts. He's a strategist. This is the other type of coordinator I like to typically get because of stuff like tier 3 lower the bar, which limits how fast players are willing to transfer away. They'll put up with more. They'll stay for longer. He kind of fits the mold that we need, but we got to fire someone, so he's going to be gone. And if you're wondering what John Summerall has in his motivator tier, it's all of this. He is heavy on player development, while recruiting he's still getting better at. Currently, he can only scout every position. But ultimately, I'd like to produce 2 first-round picks out of Florida so he can become a talent developer as well. Ron Roberts is off the team. I mean, if we look at our offense, I don't think it was the problem. Keon Jenkins had decent stats for playing in the SEC. I feel like almost 30 touchdowns passing-wise. It's pretty good for a kid that came from FIU. Jordan Lively got injured, so he didn't get as many rushing yards. And then on the receiving front, transfer receiver Jordan Fajon was our leading receiver, but he is going to be gone. We also have guys like Eugene Wilson III meeting their deal breaker. And the worst part about a player like him meeting his deal breaker is if he doesn't declare for the draft, if he transfers out instead, it's going to affect our pro potential grade, which is the whole reason he's trying to transfer in the first place. I can't blame any player for wanting to leave though, and I don't think Florida fans realized it could get this bad. The last time that they only won 3 games in a season or less was 1979. I mean, it's just embarrassing for them, especially since a lot of the resources are still there. These hires for defensive coordinators are horrendous. The best we're going to do is signing an elite recruiter. Maybe this will help us in the state of Florida. I don't know what this guy did to earn the elite recruiter archetype at Delaware, but he has it. And I don't even want to think about all the players that are about to transfer away from Florida. This is about to get ugly for us. There's a lot of teams in the conference that are better destinations. In fact, the SEC took up all 4 spots in the semifinals this year. And at least Eugene Wilson III wants to get drafted instead of fully transferring away. We got elite dev on Cormani McClain though, that's just going to be lost. And Cormani's not the only good corner we're losing either. John Mitchell has star development. He's a freshman, but he is not being persuaded. So on top of like 20 guys entering the portal, we have to deal with all the guys that have graduated from Florida, finding a way to replace them, and these few players getting drafted are going to bump up our pro potential grade, but only for a couple positions. I'm afraid that every year I check the My School grades, they're going to continue to get worse, but they haven't fallen that far compared to what they were a season ago. And we still have 21 players signed already to be excited about, including quarterback Theo Hardy, who is just impact development. Since he was a 4-star gem, I was expecting him to have something like elite development, which we got on defensive tackle DeMarco Thomas. And for our 5-star receiver Juan Timms, he is star dev, but Marco Moon has elite development, so that is back-to-back good receivers. Plus we got star development out of this linebacker too. I'd say we've gotten a few good finds so far, but we still have 14 scholarships available to offer to kids from Florida. We might be able to recruit players back that wanted to transfer. And I cannot stress enough how great of a signing Richard Young would be at running back with his 94 speed, with his shifty sidestep abilities from Alabama. But I think landing him could be kind of difficult since one of his 3 interests is a D grade. It turns out the next week he'd already decided he wanted nothing to do with us, and I find that really unfortunate. We couldn't even make his top 3. We had him on a visit for this week, so now we can take that visit, put it on somebody else, somebody that's going to appreciate it a little bit more, and start to get some of these commits rolling in. As you can see, we went 2 for 3 on the 4 stars that we added to our board, and we ended up signing 34 prospects. I'm pretty happy with this group of guys that we have put together. Some of these guys are returning players, but other ones like edges Kendall Jackson and Patrick Stockton both have star development. And we actually signed the 14th best class from the state of Florida. We only recruited out of 1 state. I think next year we're shooting for a top 10 one. Even though some of these training results like Vernell Brown III jumping up to a 96, John Walker jumping up to a 93 seem really good, there is something I've noticed, and that's that recruiting offensive linemen from Florida isn't as easy as some of these other positions. So that's something we're going to hone in early on with this next class, even if it includes signing 3 stars early. Tramel Jones Jr., he could have been our starting quarterback if he progressed well, honestly, but he just didn't. I actually appreciate that because now we can start the true freshman without wondering if we're doing the wrong decision, and he has a great group of receivers to throw the ball to, while on the tight end side, it's a little bit weaker. I would love to keep around a player like Alex Huma with his star development as a tight end. He progressed 10 overalls, but he cares about championship contenders, so he'll probably be gone. And I just can't be fooled by the fact that it says we're a 91 overall going into this season, because we saw what an 89 did for us last year. It's a hard schedule. It's always going to be a hard schedule. I don't know how we're going to do. I am putting everything in the hands of Emmanuel Owusu. We're going to trust the 76 overall to lead this offense. His accuracy can get uncapped throughout his career. And I really hope we at least get the opportunity to recruit the best players out of Florida to this team every year, because there are 3 5-stars we're locked out of from the start. The number 1 and number 2 players in the country come from our state. And I was not kidding about us potentially struggling to build an offensive line, because if we don't get some of these 4 stars, most of the 3 stars already have us locked out before we could even go after them. Now, Tyreek Vierling is one of the best running backs I have ever found. 98 speed. I don't know if I've seen 98 speed and a gym on a prospect in this game, but we better not be locked out of him before we can put hours into him. And Paris Nix, the 5-star corner, the number 1 player in the country, is another guy I really want us to get a chance at before he locks us out. It turns out he is willing to consider becoming a Gator, but we're going to have to be able to out-recruit schools like Georgia. Getting an early visit is going to be key there. The other 5-star was a bust, but we still want Jeff. And as I was going through redshirting some of the players that we could for the future, I noticed one thing about our quarterback room. Emmanuel was the other 4-star that we got that was not supposed to be the real star. Theo Hardy. I don't know how I switched up the names. This is who we want to focus on. He's the true freshman that's 6'5", not just 6 feet tall. He doesn't have 82 speed. He is 88 speed. Now, his accuracy cannot get as good, which is the one downside to using him. But I've decided that he is going to be our starter, and we're going to see how he does against UTSA. Offensively, I think we're going to be all right. He had 3 touchdowns, 207 yards. The main focus on offense will be Jordan Lively, the senior. But defensively, we gave up 32 points and almost lost to the Roadrunners. As we head into this game on the road at Tennessee, that's just something we need to keep in mind. That we could legitimately give up like 50 points against one of our rivals at Neyland Stadium. It turns out, though, we've only let them score 24 points while putting up 17 ourselves. So with 4 minutes left, we are not out of this game. Now, we have had a really hard time running the football, so we're going to have to go to the air. Liley's just got like 27 yards on the ground after taking like 15 carries, though he bust through that one. And now we can let Theo Hardy get back to work. We have a wide open tight end. Jackson's going to be able to reel this one in, but our tight end position's not too explosive. That's why he wasn't able to get more than that. But again, we're getting guys open and making catches. We might need to start chewing clock, though, or just watching it carefully because we don't want to give Tennessee time to respond. But after an injury timeout, we might just have to trust our defense. We're not going to have the choice. Theo Hardy has got to be able to process the defense faster on that play, too. We get it out there, but it won't matter. And on 3rd and goal, the pressure is on. We're going to roll out. That was kind of designed into this play. Theo Hardy didn't like anything that he saw, but he dives his way in, setting us up to just get that stop. And then we missed a tackle. Never mind. We missed a tackle. Tennessee's going down the field. They're already in field goal range. It almost is better if we just let them get in. But what I was thinking was we were about to get the football back, getting 2 more stops. This could be a Theo Hardy legacy game, though. If he helps us pull this off, it'd be huge for him. And there's a flag on the play. It was an awful throw. It's not going to matter. That was just a complete bailout. He didn't have enough time there. We would have had at least another 10 yards through the air, and we're going to get out a quick halfback screen. Took Liley a second to get on his feet, but we got blockers going down the field. And just like that, hope has been restored, especially if we can get out of bounds. Now we hand it off. We cut it back with him. He's starting to get into a rhythm. I was hoping the run would catch them off guard. It didn't do too much, and we just ran it again. That was supposed to be a pass. Hardy was trying to get that ball out, but since he didn't, we'll just pick up the 3rd down on the ground. And those runs have caused us to burn through 2 timeouts, so we got to be ultra careful here. Looks like we got the matchup that we want, but ultimately nothing comes out of it. Now they're in man-to-man coverage. Hardy trying to escape the pressure. He's got to just throw this football away. And I think what we're going to do is a quick run, burn our final timeout, and then get off a passing play. But you got to go down in time. That was scary. All right, it all comes down to this. Can we upset number 5, Tennessee? We need to at least get our shot at overtime, and it's going to be caught. It was a blind read off of the back foot, but if you thought we were actually going to kick an extra point, you'd be out of your mind. We're doing that same run play that just worked for us so well. And I can't believe the Volunteers just made it that easy on us. The true freshman just earned his job as the starter for the rest of this season. And following a game against an FCS school where the only points that we gave up were our offense taking a safety, we are 3-0. The Gators seem to be back on track. Knowing that there's a tough schedule coming up, though, I don't know how to feel still. We definitely don't have as many tough opponents as the year before, but we got Oklahoma coming to town, who's ranked number 10. And I was so excited to continue to recruit some of these gyms at the top of our board, but we've already got Titus Toney locking us out due to play style. I'll tell you one thing right now. I am seeing Georgia put massive efforts forward. Even though we got the same tier pipeline, we just don't have the hard sells that they do. So we're going to have to get some of these guys on visits. And the closest we can pull off is week 6 against Auburn. So I just hope they don't make a decision before then. I'm actually really scared for how this class is going to turn out because I think we might lose like half of the players that we're going after. But what would really help our chances of getting some of those guys to Gainesville is obvious. Just continue to win. I can't say it's looking great as we start the 4th quarter, but it's back within the possession. And we'll only be down by a field goal if we can just pick up this 2-point conversion, which we do. After getting a stop against Oklahoma, we've been able to drive down the field, and we're going to find him for the first. I thought senior Aiden Mazzell might be able to take that in for a touchdown, but he just couldn't get loose. And we could be better off keeping the ball out of Theo Hardy's hands. He's already thrown 2 interceptions in this game. Jordan Liley just got injured, though, which means we're going to make the wrong read, and we're back to trusting Theo to throw the football. Now, if we look underneath, Hamilton wasn't open, but I am sure somebody else was. Similar situation here, except we're inside the defensive tackle. We were on the 1-yard line. We were on the 1-yard line at one point, and we are really hoping to get Oklahoma off of the field on 3rd down, but they pick it up. Keelan Russell transferred there away from Alabama, and they're just running the football. So we're going to try and send in a blitz, but they ran it to the opposite side of the field. On 3rd and 6, if we could bait him into a bad read, that'd be incredible. But what are our safeties doing? They didn't even put any pressure on him. He had the easiest catch of all time. I feel bad for Theo Hardy at this point. He has to do everything for this program, and he's facing a lot of pressure. It's no secret he's not holding his spot in the pocket very well, though. We're going to try and find Jackson. It was almost picked. So that ball just needed a little bit more zip on it. And that's an awful read. It's just an awful read from Theo. He should have seen 9 chilling there. This is what happens when you have a true freshman quarterback that is literally staring down just one read Oklahoma didn't even hand it off here, but we got a sack. I mean, we have to be the luckiest team of all time. Oklahoma returns to throwing the football, and they are trying to end this game against us, but there it is. The first 2 sacks our defense has gotten in this entire game come on 2 of those last 3 plays, and that's going to give us about 30 seconds to still score a touchdown. Maybe we could get a good return, though. Come on. It was looking so promising, and Theo Hardy cannot end this game with his 4th interception of the day. That's one thing he has to avoid. We're going to have Jackson. Hang on. There might be a chance. If he pulls this off, I mean, he would just be the greatest quarterback we've had in years. And it's seeming more and more possible by the moment. Man-to-man coverage. Corner route. It's caught. You know what we're doing. There is nothing that would be better than a 2-point conversion. And I think we got to go for the pump fake. Get him to bite down. And that did not work the way I thought it would. I've never run that play before. I was just scheming something up different. It didn't go well. But you know what? We still have the onside kick. I've not lost hope yet. Oklahoma could make a mistake, except they're going to scoop this ball up, and they're going to return it for a touchdown. They're going to return it for a touchdown. Now, hang on a second. This is actually good news. It sounds like it's weird when I say it's good news, but if they don't accept this penalty, then all of a sudden we have a chance. As you can see, they're up by 8 points, but there is 9 seconds left on the clock at the Swamp. I'm not saying that our odds are good in this situation, but if we could get out of bounds with a good throw, we would have been at the 40-yard line. I think our best option is just try and mix it up, do something unique, but they're all over Jordan Lively on the final play. It really stinks knowing we could have taken it to overtime, but we got too aggressive. But that's how we beat Tennessee, and we just stand no chance at Paris Nix. Georgia's got some edge over us, mainly the fact that they're really good, and they have been for a while, and their hard sells are better than ours. That's the edge. But back to complaining. Georgia's blown us out of the water. Paris Nix is not making it to his week 6 visit. Luckily for us, Jaden Cook at least will. By that point, though, we might be sitting at 3-2. And that's exactly what's happened. Texas A&M held us to just 16 points while putting up 38 themselves. Theo Hardy did not have a good game. But here's the thing. If he helps us take down number 3 Auburn, none of that matters. We can look past it. This is a massive game for us on the defensive side of the ball. All the prospects visiting are on that side. And I think it's safe to say after the way our defense played in this game, they are going to be very impressed with the program. We've only given up 14 points. Surely they wouldn't catch that. It has just been a dominant performance all around. I thought for the number 3 team, they'd at least play us close, but we are blowing them out and we're trying to rub a little bit more in at the end. I think it's safe to say that we should make it to a bowl game now that we got this result. We only need to win a couple more. And you know what? Maybe we didn't get the 5-star cornerback Jim. We still got a 5-star bust. That's a stepping stone in the right direction. But I did think we'd close out on 4-star edge Jaden Cook, and since we didn't, Georgia's going to win this battle. There are some week 8 visits scheduled as well, though, that we just got to make it there in the first place. I would love to get the right tackle since offensive line is something we're worried about. For both of these 4 stars, that's a big week. But before we can even think about Vanderbilt, we have to make sure that Arkansas doesn't derail anything. Now, hear me out. That is exactly what they would do. They won 40-28. But Christmas came early. I don't care. Mark Stoops just got fired. He had a great run at Kentucky, but we needed to separate at some point. This result does not bug me at all. I was so fascinated with the Mark Stoops firing last night, I just stopped filming. I didn't think we'd actually have the balls to do it, but we did. Now my focus can shift back to this rebuild. If we want to sign Tyreek Vierling, the 98 speed 4-star Jim at running back, we're going to have a week 8 win. And I would like to think that we could take down the Commodores. They're 3-3. They haven't won a single game in SEC play, somehow a 64 overall. Though I have a feeling that if we compare our 2 rosters, then they're going to be kind of similar, but they're actually not. They are awful. Anything short of a win in this game would just be a major letdown. So I am not happy to see that with 4 minutes left, we're currently all tied. It'll be very interesting to see how Theo Hardy develops this offseason. We're going to want to see his accuracy go up, though that last throw was extremely impressive. I wasn't sure he was going to get it into that window in time for it to be completed. And now that we're running on the ground, Vanderbilt's got no answer for Lively. We just need our defense to hold them one time. They don't have Diego Pavia anymore. We should be able to do it. At least that is what I'm hoping. 3rd and 10, drag is open. They have it, and they're still on their feet as well. I think we all know that that could have gotten extremely ugly. But the fun part about rebuilding the Gators is the Swamp gives us a major advantage in these situations, and that's a sack. It is now 3rd and 19. They're going to be looking for a deep route, but nothing is open, so they just scramble. No, they chuck it up. Gates has got to get over to that football, and he does. It all comes down to this. 4th down. It's a 50-50 ball. They somehow caught it, and I don't know what else we could have done there. Vanderbilt's probably going to come back. They still have over a minute to get into the end zone. and we just aren't making plays. So you know how excited I was like 5 minutes ago talking about Mark Stoops no longer with Kentucky and stuff? Now I'm frustrated. I just opened up this game for the day. Why? I know it's only year 2 with the Gators, but I needed us to take down Vanderbilt. We got a great throw. We should have had a great throw. I take back everything I was about to say. We just aren't meant to win this game. We are not meant to win this game against the Commodores. If for whatever reason we don't pick up this 3rd down, we did chew some clock, but it looks like Theo is going to be able to pick it up using his legs. And we got a fake screen pass here. The pump fake didn't fool anybody. It's so off target. We're going to overtime against Vanderbilt unless they get in field goal range. I mean, if we gave that up, that would just be crushing to see. You cannot let them get a seam, and we got to make this tackle underneath. We do. We have made it way harder than it needed to be on ourselves to win this game. Burns gets the pick. And I just wonder, how good are we actually? Because we've won some really impressive ones, but we have also put ourselves in some really bad positions. Like the fact that they just broke that tackle and got 20 is ridiculous. This team is simply not where it needs to be. Florida should have a better roster than this, and the handoff to the outside forces them to a 3rd and 8. You know what? It is feeling like we're going to stop them and force them to take a field goal. Nowhere for Ricky Collins to throw. So all we're going to have to do is score a touchdown and we'll win. If there's anything that has gone well for us in this 2nd half, it's been running the football. So we're not going to be shy. We'll continue to go with it. Liley gets the first, and Jordan's not even tired. He's gotten a lot more stamina this season compared to the last one where he was off the field most of it. So I'm glad the extra work he's been putting in off the field has paid off. It is 3rd and 6 though. We are not going to get held to a field goal here, except our 2 routes just ran into each other. Jackson still gets free, and that's how you take care of business in an important game. Should it have gone on for this long? No, but we still persevered, and I'm not seeing a commitment out of our running back. I want the 98 speedster. I think I've already mentioned that we're losing on Jaden Cook. He went to Georgia, but here's the thing. If we want to sign Tyreek, we have the better pipeline over Nebraska. Our hard sell for pro potential just pulls us back. And I think I've already hopped into 3 games during the regular season, so we have to sim the last 4. Whether we win or lose those matchups, though, none of it matters because we have signed the fastest running back I have ever had on this game. I've legit never seen a true freshman with 98 speed. It was common on college football 25, but not 26. Now, we might have lost on the road at Death Valley by 3 points, but I think in one of our final 3 games, we should pick up a win. So that would make us bowl eligible with the Gators. We're not going to take down undefeated number 2 Georgia, but I think we could beat either Missouri or Florida State in the following 2 weeks. It turns out, not only did we beat the Tigers, but we also beat the Seminoles by 2 points. They finished 4 and 8. So that's a 7 and 5 season for Theo Hardy, who threw 17 interceptions as a freshman. He has got to fix that. It's also not going to help that next year we're not going to have Jordan Liley to lean on the rushing side of things. Somebody else is going to have to step up, but it's Florida. We will find another running back. Vernell Brown III only had 3 receiving touchdowns, and that's coming from a kid that's going to be a 1st round pick as a 96 overall. I know some of his receiving stats weren't as good as you would want them to be, mainly because elusive route runners only can upgrade one type of catching, but I still thought he'd have a better year than that. We'll see if we signed any of these other 4 stars. It looks like we're not going to get Lorenzo Sills. Florida State's probably going to have him. Tyler Torrey decided on Clemson over us, and I gotta say, just revisiting one of our coaching hires, our defensive coordinator, he's an elite recruiter, but he doesn't have tier 4, which gives us more hours for any of these positions, so he's basically useless. It's gonna hurt our coaching stability to fire him, but I want the opportunity to find a better person. And with a Georgia SEC championship win over Alabama, this is how the conference is looking. We finished mid-table, though we weren't above 500 in conference play. With the SEC going to 9 conference games a year, it makes it really hard for us to rebuild any teams inside there. Our bowl game, it's against UCF, an in-state opponent, and I would expect us to come out on top here, which would mean we're finishing this season at 8 and 5. As for our potential staff hires, there are so many better options than what we were dealing with last season, so that is really exciting. Bob Chesney could be interesting, but it's Eric Luke who I really want, who's going to give us bonuses to visits on the defensive side of things, and he's also going to make it so less defensive players transfer. I think long-term, that hire is just going to make a ton of sense. And as we get ready for this bowl game against UCF, we got a true freshman quarterback who could really set the standard of winning a bowl game every season and eventually maybe getting us a playoff spot. To be fair, our defense has done a lot of the heavy lifting in this game, so I can't even be upset at them for giving up that late touchdown. We just need to recover this onside kick, and we might be able to return it on this play. That basically does it, whether UCF prevents us from picking up a 1st down or not, because we're already in field goal range. We would have to really mess up. All we have to do is get this first or hit this field goal. Either way, UCF is done. So the Liberty Bowl is coming back to Gainesville. It's not the most impressive bowl win ever, but it didn't need to be. If you look back over the last 8 seasons with the Gators, this is tied for the most impressive one. So we are now moving things back in the right direction. Unfortunately, it looks like Kareem Jackson is going to want to transfer away from us. We just didn't get him the playing time he deserved. Though I have a feeling he'll probably be open for us to pursue during the transfer portal period anyway, so he might be coming back. We have lost a lot of guys, though. We're going to have to convince to return just because we didn't play them. We didn't play our 5-star receiver because he was a lower overall than a lot of the guys on this team. And we didn't play our other 4-star freshman quarterback because he was getting redshirted, but that was a mistake. That's 2 big recruits that we are losing out on. Plus, we got the seniors graduating. I'm hoping our defensive tackle can be a first-round pick because that is exactly what we needed to open up the door for us to go down the talent developer archetype, which is the most desirable one. We will get a lot more bonus XP whenever players are drafted at specific positions now. I'm not sure which ones we want to go for first, but if we take a look at our roster in the future, we'll be putting some receivers and defensive linemen into the league for sure. So we had to make sure tier 1 was covered for those 2 positions. We're actually going to get star maker on receiver and tight ends as well. As we level up more, we'll pour more hours into that. Tyreek Vierling is an elite dev running back with his 98 speed. I mean, this kid is going to be a monster. He might be starting immediately, though I don't want to guarantee it just based off of overall. I don't know how he'll stack up compared to the rest of our team, but then there were 4 straight star devs in a row as well, including 2 on the offensive line. We've made some really good signings so far. We could also get the number 4 strong safety in the country. I'm really curious on the players that we can recruit back that transferred away. It looks like Emmanuel Osawulu and Kendall Jackson both won't consider us again. And if there's one thing about the prospects in Florida, we are never going to have a shortage on wide receivers. When it comes to the final week of the transfer portal period, though, we have signed basically every player on our board besides 3 of them, including the number 4 player in the country. I'm not sure if we have a good enough hard sell to win out here, not a single grade above an A, but we have some complimentary visits that are stacked, and I don't think it made the difference since I didn't see the pop-up first. As a last-second surprise, though, typically this would come before the other players. We actually got Rashad Johnson Jr., who is basically guaranteed to go in the first few rounds as a star dev player. His overall is already going to be super high. We're hoping to see any elite devs even out of the portal. It didn't happen, though, and if we look at our class ranking, it's all the way down at number 19, so it fell off versus the last year. I thought we might be able to get a top 10 class out of Florida. It might have to come in the future. Still, we know that we made a lot of good signings. Even this 64 overall athlete, he is star development, so he might not seem like he'll be great, but we can make him a tight end for us, or we could put him at other positions. I eventually just decided to make him a tight end. Our best player is going to be our center, Fletcher Westpaul, by the way. It was not Rashad Johnson Jr., who only went up by 3 overalls. John Mitchell, who we kept bringing back, is now a 91. And our quarterback room is seeing the least amount of progression of basically any other group on this team. Theo Hardy only got up to an 80. His accuracy didn't get much better, still 65 deep accuracy. And we've made it to the point where we have to start cutting some of our guys because we've recruited too many players. That just means we're going to have to be a little bit smarter about this next class. We have 40 freshmen, only 11 seniors, so we probably can recruit about 15 guys to replace all the players that'll leave this team. And just think about the foundation that we are laying with having 40 freshmen and still being ranked inside the top 25, because that's what we've been able to do with Florida. We know every season we're not going to have an easy schedule. I don't know why both Colorado and Arizona State are on here, but I guess they've scheduled them for the non-conference in real life. It seems like our SEC schedule is easier than it could have been, but I might take that back at some point this season. And it's like every single year, our receiving core is just deep and solid. If we can sign someone like 5-star Cortland Wells, that is not going to stop either. 94 speed, 5-star gym, contested specialist, my favorite archetype. We have to beat out Clemson, though. There's also a 5-star gym at defensive tackle, which would be even better. And then there's Emmanuel Redwine, a 5-star corner. The state of Florida producing lots of great prospects I would love to land this season. We are still going to go after a lot of offensive linemen since that is going to be a big need for this team. And at the very bottom of our board, I have a couple quarterback options. They're just 3 stars. One of them's a gym, but this kid only has 80 throw power, so I don't really want Quentin, while Jarek is going to come in as a monster, but I think that's kind of his ceiling. Ultimately, he just needs to make for a good backup. I'm opening up the season hopping into this game at Death Valley. I want to see if we can take down LSU. It could really set the standard for the rest of the year. But I might have overestimated how good we could be this season, because as you can see, it's not going well. Our offensive line is not held up. Theo Hardy didn't progress the way that we wanted him to. During the offseason, he's missed a lot of throws, but we caught that one. And the question becomes, can we pull off a 24-point comeback in the final 3 minutes? I don't think so, but it's a great back shoulder throw that is held on to. If only we could have done this earlier on in the game. Our slant does not get open, and that's just inexcusable out of our top receiver. The onside kick will be scooped up by them. So from that point, we just had to accept that the Tigers were going to beat us. The biggest issue with losing that game is we now have Arizona State and Colorado coming up on the schedule. Neither of those are easy wins. And I don't know who thought it would be a bright idea to have 12 Power 4 games on the schedule, not a single easy one, but we beat the Buffaloes. That one win would move us back inside the top 25, but we're about to sim at Arizona State as well. It looks like they are a 79 overall. And I just feel like we're not allowed to have nice things at Florida because we lost this game by a point, but we should have lost by a lot more because they had almost 230 more total yards of offense. That's right. Their quarterback, J.D. Lett, threw for 451 yards, 3 touchdowns. He didn't have a single turnover while Theo Hardy did. And that's far from ideal, but we have 2 visit weeks coming up, which could land us a lot of these prospects. So we're going to see how we do in some of these games. I've put the offensive linemen on visits. I've also put some of the defensive players on visits. And truthfully, whenever we have grades like playing style that's an F, it is our only pathway to winning some of these prospects. It'll be interesting to see if we can handle the undefeated Tigers as they come to the Swamp. And since we fell back out of the top 25, it's just going to be a day game. Now, there was a moment in this one where we were trailing by a lot of points. We have since gotten it back within 10, but we still have a lot of work to do if we're going to be able to pull this one off, and that's how you get out of there with Neptune. Nobody's making the tackle on him. What a play from the receiver. That might be the best thing I've done on this game whenever you're in such a close, congested space. I didn't think we could get free. The question becomes, though, can we stop the Tigers? And if they're going to hit us with play action, plus get that much time, we're going to get a pick. Why would you throw it straight to us? It doesn't even make sense. Missouri just handed us the game. We take this handoff for a solid 9. And Brian Spriggs is the big power back as a freshman that wanted playing time, so we're deciding to give it to him. We have to continue to move the ball, though, as we try and drain some clock. It's pretty important that we don't get complacent. We're not in the end zone yet. Speed option gets him open, and we celebrate our way in. You have to be kidding me, though. It says the extra point was blocked. So I can already tell you exactly what's happening. This game is setting up for us to choke it away. Missouri is most likely going to get into field goal range even after that sack. I just don't feel as confident as we should. There's no way. There's no way when we were right there, they still got a positive game. You have to fight against everything whenever you're in these positions, and this is their shot. We're swatting it. We don't want them to catch the ball. I have learned to just not go for the interception in that situation. I could not afford to give that up, and he's feeling the pressure. They roll out, make the throw on the run. I mean, that should have been intercepted, but it's fine. Missouri wasn't going to do anything with it, so we're going to impress those visiting recruits, but we also need to win next week. All of those guys that came down to Gainesville were on the offensive side, mainly offensive line. It's been a big team need that I've been talking about, but some of the defensive players also committed prematurely before their visit, and we still could not influence a tackle to come here. We also were not able to jump Bama with James McCarron, so he's just going to go to the Crimson Tide. But I can understand why we're not winning over some of those prospects. It's not like Florida's been elite for almost a decade at this point in the rebuild. We're sitting here hopping into a game against Arkansas, who we should be able to beat in sim. But the problem is we can't trust our guys to take down anyone there. You see the position we currently sit in. It is 3rd and goal, and Arkansas might be able to put this in for a touchdown, but if we hold them to a field goal, we'll be all right. Play action. We got to watch everything underneath. That might just do it. Even though we were able to come back under these circumstances against Missouri, it's been a rough day. Nobody seems to be able to do anything right, and this is against the Razorbacks. I am ready to just get into next season already, sim through the rest of this year, and hope that we can still retain a lot of the guys that we've been recruiting, because we should not lose a game to a quarterback that threw for that little. The fact that we even won over some of those prospects from that visit is shocking, but as you can see, it was just one commit. A lot of the other guys seem to be losing some of their interest in being here, and we'll see if anything can change over the course of the next few weeks, because if it doesn't, our class might only have like 7 players going into the transfer portal. It looks like along the way, the only team that we could take down was Kentucky, and we still have to face both Georgia and Texas, Tennessee, Florida State. We're not going back to a bowl game. We might finish 3-9. It's been an awful season, and the fact that we could still land Greg Johnston is just a shock to me. The 5-star Jim at defensive tackle, Ohio State takes the corner. The other 5-star goes to Clemson. And while we have still pulled in some 4-star recruits, including the strong safety and these linebackers, and then there's some 3-stars, it's not that big of a class. I already know that we're not going to take down the Bulldogs. We can sim a couple of weeks. Maybe we just sim a few of them, because this season's just done. And due to this collapse compared to the previous year, we're set to lose multiple players, including our starting quarterback. He wants to transfer due to pro potential. We should have known he wasn't going to be loyal. Now, I do have some good news. We somehow got Greg Johnston, so we signed a 5-star still, plus we got both of these new quarterbacks, but those are just 3-star players, and we didn't win a single game on this schedule that I would be impressed by. The John Summerall era at Florida has not gone well so far. Theo Hardy is welcome to leave. In real life, he would be fired by this point at the end of season 3, but he's going to be stuck as the coach until we find find success. And that's going to take a little bit because we've returned to the bottom of the SEC. Things just aren't as bad as they are at Vanderbilt. There is one player I am extremely upset about, though, that wants to transfer away. And I really don't even want to talk about it in the first place because we did not have the play style for Tyreek Vierling to want to stay here. He didn't even get to touch the field because he wasn't the 88 overall that we had starting. But it's not like Duke Clark did us any good. He's not even going to get drafted onto the NFL. None of these seniors served us well. I'm really upset about losing him. And we're also going to lose Brian Spriggs, who we tried to give playing time, but it just wasn't enough. Theo Hardy's going to be gone. We're also losing an 86 overall receiver who felt like he didn't get enough playing time. So did Tony Bean. It's honestly just unbelievable. John Mitchell won't declare for the NFL draft either. He's just said that he's leaving this program. I don't think we're going to convince a single one of these players to return. And I guess we'll see if we can try and get at least a couple of them back during the transfer portal period. Tyreek's not even going to leave us. That's actually huge. I was sitting over here just pouting. I was upset, but this makes me feel a little bit better because he is going to develop well with his elite development. He might shoot up to like an 85 overall, and he should be more than just speed. Duke Clark was everything but speed. As an 88 overall, he went in the 6th round, but he was not good for us. This is where the dev traits are revealed, though. Before we build out our team through the transfer portal, we got star dev on an 80 throw power quarterback, which makes him useless. Jarek is going to be useless with normal dev, but we still got a couple of elites on Kyle Trinidad, a linebacker, and then on the 5-star Jim, Greg Johnston, the defensive tackle. What we need to find, though, is a quarterback with a strong arm, John Mitchell being there, and also Tony Bean, another Florida player, Theo Hardy. All these guys being 4-star transfers leaving our program, it's hard to see because we have to look at other prospects from Florida that are worse than them. I don't want either of these, but we have to take one of these quarterbacks, and Clayton Dees actually looks like he could be decent. On the other side, Brendan Yates, he's not as solid. Awareness is 64. So we made our decision on which guys that we wanted, and it's time to see if we're able to pull in a lot of them, which I think we will be able to. We're still the Florida Gators, so some of these guys will commit after just a couple of weeks. And for a team that just went 4-8, we're still a 4-star team prestige. Our championship contender grade is sitting at C+. So things could be going much worse than they are. I think Clayton Dees will be our starting quarterback for next season, but that should be about it. He is a senior. And we got running back Brian Spriggs back, so we're going to have both of the running backs that I thought were transferring away. Tight end Aries Bean is another returning player, and we basically saved the future of our offensive line with all of these signings. We lost one battle to FAU of all teams, but Alonzo thought he'd have a better chance of getting on the field at FAU. So how can we even hate on it? He just wants to get his opportunity. Our recruiting class continues to get worse and worse, so maybe Florida is holding us back. It's challenging only recruiting out of one state. It's not worked so far. Jarek Salam is going to come in as a 79 overall, but he's going to have awful skill caps. And I think we're just going to continue to get more and more depth on this team. We now have 6 players above a 90 overall. We saw a +10 on Cassidy Gator. What a gain for the junior free safety. He'll probably leave us early now, but we'll still try and convince him to return. The only player in our quarterback room that gained any overall was Clayton Dees. He's an 83. We knew that he was most likely going to be the starter for one season. And 98 throw power should be interesting if we could ever get Tyreek out as a receiver. He would have 99 speed. No one else in our receiving room is anywhere near as fast. But you cannot forget about Marco Moon. He has now gotten up to an 86. Next season, he might be a 97, 98 speedster. And I'm not sure I've ever seen a +21 overall on a tight end in one offseason. Darren Lincoln is just a freshman. He's not much of a receiver, but what a jump. If you want just overall, pure blocker might be the method. He is not even maxed out, so he will definitely gain more overalls going into next year. It really is our defense, though, that's going to have to carry this team as a 96 overall. We also need to do well so all these players don't transfer due to championship contender. And you might be wondering, what type of schedule are we going up against? Well, we have to play 2 Big 12 teams in the non-conference, and that's not ideal because we know Florida State's our 3rd non-conference game. It's going to be brutal again. I've just had to accept that succeeding with the Gators is always going to be a super big challenge. If we look at our recruiting board, you'll see there's 11 seniors again. We got so many younger players that we don't need to go after many guys. And I thought we might not have as many options this year just because last season was a disaster, but that wasn't really the case. There's still 4 stars that would consider us, and we might go after all 4. I just don't think we'd be able to keep around Rico for long. Deal breakers make a big difference on whether or not it is worth us even going after a player because we have to be able to retain them. If they're a 5-star freshman, they're going to have to start immediately. Jaron Curtin could be good for us. He's a 4-star corner with 98 speed from Tampa, Florida, so another really fast kid from Florida. Deontay Murphy, he's a quarterback we're looking at. He has decent stats, but at the same time, I've learned Jarek Salim, despite having normal development, actually has incredible skill caps. It was never expected. Normally with these 3 stars, they don't have this, but if he's only going to increase his IQ. He already has 96 throw power. He doesn't need any more, and he's only going to increase his accuracy. He can slowly develop into a monster. In fact, I've just decided we're going to redshirt him. He might start for us 4 seasons after this one. First game against Oklahoma State. It went about as well as it possibly could have. We had 462 total yards of offense, 149 rushing yards, while also still being able to find success through the air while they threw 2 interceptions. Tyreek Vierling over 100 yards. And if we're going to retain him, if he's not going to transfer, those are the types of performances he's going to have to raise our play style. This could be a little controversial since it's year 4 and this isn't a conference game. It's not a rivalry, but we are going to hop in to face Colorado. And that's because they're a top 25 team, plus we beat them last season, so it would be nice to beat them again. Tyreek's not going to be able to finish out the drive because he's down -6 speed to wear and tear. But Brian Spriggs did, which would have been nice if Colorado didn't drive down the field. If we could hold them to 3, that would be a dream, but no one's there to make a tackle. And that leaves us with 3 minutes to move it down the field and score against the Buffaloes. I'm not sure if it's going to be that big of an issue. We're going to get our 96 speedster the football. He doesn't go far, but you best believe he's being closely watched on that part of the field. And we can't scramble this year. Clayton Dees is not the runner that we have been using like the past couple seasons. It's unfortunate. There's a fumble. No. This is not how we're going to lose to Colorado. Clayton Dees coming out of nowhere to make a tackle, and he does. Maybe he is quick. But hang on. Let's just challenge whether or not this was a fumble in the first place because he might have been down. Considering they didn't even show an instant replay of it, though, I don't think he was. I mean, he was very clearly up. He reached the ball out for the first down, and then it got knocked loose. So we just wasted a timeout for absolutely no reason. That is how we're going to lose this game. We thought we had it in our hands. Instead, we're still bad. I thought hopping into this one would just change things, but it hasn't. Clayton Dees running around for nothing. And we need a touchdown extremely fast. You know how much time's left in this game, which is why we're going for all these big throws. We got one. I will not give up hope until the clock hits 0. We might have a touchdown, but we're just going to go over to the sideline. I was feeling a little bit aggressive, but not that aggressive as we do it again. We really need to score as soon as possible after that, though, which is why we've rolled out. And it's deflected, but it just didn't pan out the way that we wanted, and we're going for the aggressive catch. Come on. I can't say things are looking ideal for us, but that is a great route. So great that we're going to run it back again and hope that we can actually hit the throw this time. Oh, they've boxed it. They've boxed it. I might have seen enough off of that game alone. I don't love Clayton Dees for our future. He's supposed to be our bridge quarterback to just set us up nicely for next year, but if you look at his accuracy stats, his throw on the run's 94, short accuracy 89. Those are his best 2, while with Jarek Salim, his short throw accuracy is actually higher as an 86. His throw on the run's just lower though, and so are a lot of other accuracies. His IQ's also worse, but I really don't care. I think it is worth burning his red shirt to make him the starter for us this year. I realize we've played Missouri a few times already, but I do want to test out our new quarterback. And right before that, it hit me that we need to be working on our talent developer skills. If we just go ahead and get Star Maker for all of our defensive players, they're going to continue to get a lot better. For our offensive linemen, we'll get some bonus XP, and that'll be the next group of players that we work on. As for scheduling some visits, that's what we're going to have to do if we're going to beat out schools like Georgia, because just doing a couple of soft sells to figure out a hard sell isn't working. Unfortunately, the best we can do is either a bye week or all the way until week 7 against South Carolina, so we're going to have a lot of players that we can't get off of visits. But you know what? If we're not beating Missouri, we're not signing those players anyway, so this needs to be our focus. I don't bring out the blacks much, but we are going to bring out the blackout jersey for this game. I think they look really good, especially with the cursive helmet. I can say that as a Kentucky fan. Though we might need to have an honest conversation about how terrible our offense has been for most of this rebuild. As we end this third quarter, we're only sitting at 13 points. I know we're using a new quarterback, and I know Missouri is a top team, but we are doing everything we can to stay in this one. So we could really use this third down. We're going to go out to our 98 speed back, and he just has enough. He might actually be at 99 speed now. He doesn't feel that quick, though. He needs to get shifty upgraded. We're not losing on another fumble. There's no way that this is how our season goes. Again, I refuse to believe he wasn't already down, even though it was pretty obvious that he was up. Let's see. Wait, knee on the ground, knee on the ground. It's getting a little bit ridiculous how cheated it feels like we're going to be out of this game, but we're going to be on a 3rd and 1. I really couldn't tell if we caught that or not. Perfect blocks, though. We're somehow in the end zone. It felt like we just glitched across the screen, and that is what we needed for our defense to be set up. Set up for failure is what you could call it, though. Until we got the sack, we had just been giving up yards like it was nothing, and they're about to be on a 3rd and 10. This is it. We got to get Missouri off of the field, and we have forced a fumble ourselves. They scooped this up somehow. No, we got it. We got it. Luck has been on our side. They are not challenging it. It was hard to tell what happened there, but the ball apparently popped out, And this is why you have speed, because then you can get to the outside. Missouri's basically done, especially if they're going to leave Neptune just open in the seam. They backed up somebody to cover him. They saw us audibling, but then that player came forward anyway. We'll take our knee. It's a high-quality win. We are technically still undefeated in SEC play, but we're also 3 games into the year. And the signings have already started to come in. 5 of them to be exact, which I was not expecting. But not a single one was a 5-star recruit. Despite having these 2 visiting during the bye week, I think Clemson still edges us out for Powell. I don't know if we can get this right tackle. We have a visit set up for the South Carolina game, but it's the best we can do. I also want to hop in against Ole Miss, just because I like to have momentum at the beginning of a season. And this might mean we can't hop into any other matches, but it won't make a difference. Until we have a high overall quarterback, we're just not going to win a lot of games in the SEC. It's the way that things are. What an elite defense can do, though, is absolutely carry us. You see the score against Ole Miss at the moment. They haven't scored a single point in their home stadium, and we're rolling out with a crazy back foot throw that is brought in. Jarek Salam might actually be it. I wasn't expecting this freshman to make that much of a difference, but he has, and we're just a couple first downs away from being able to end this one. We've run to the outside, hurdling over a defender. I don't think we're going to be able to run out the rest of the clock against Ole Miss, unfortunately, so we might as well get our touchdown. Okay, so what you're about to see is me sitting in silence, looking down at my phone. But listen, there's a reason. There's a reason. We gave up our first points of the game because of it. But Kentucky has hired Will Stein as their new head coach, Oregon's offensive coordinator, and I could not be more excited. He was either him or Brian Hartline that I wanted. I'm just sitting there scrolling. My brain, it's mush at this point. I can't get away from it. But that distraction did cause us to give up points when we really shouldn't have. We should have shut out Ole Miss in their own stadium. Apparently, that was a statement enough of a win over a top 5 team to get Tyree Powell to commit. It was looking like Clemson was going to be for him, and these are all the guys that still want to transfer. I can't believe our star running back isn't happy with the touches he's getting. I literally switched up our playbook so he could see the ball more, and he still doesn't care. You just can't please players in this era. It's time for us to sim 8 games. The first one being against Oklahoma and going about how I thought it would. Then we take on South Carolina, who wasn't supposed to be this good, but they're 5-1. So beating them by 6, we kind of brought them back down to earth. What really matters, though, is did that win make a difference in recruiting? We were so close to signing Damian Darnold, but he just couldn't side with us. Deontay Murphy, the quarterback, he also didn't sign for us. And that means we might just have to wait another week for some really big decisions. Eventually, though, Damian Darnold just couldn't resist. He wanted to stay in the state of Florida, and Cam Potts also did. But here's the thing. Recruiting wins aren't the only thing that's gone really right for us this season. Now, you're going to see me remove some prospects from our board. Miami took a couple. Georgia took a couple. It's just tradition. But again, this is not the best part about our year, our 15 signings. The best part about the year is as we continued to simulate games, yes, we lost to Texas A&M on the road by 8, but we took down Georgia, who was ranked as a top 2 team at the time, and we also beat Arkansas while holding them to 0. So if we somehow manage to win our final 2 games, I don't think we can get to the SEC championship unless a lot goes our way, but we might be able to become a playoff team. All of a sudden, I'm extremely optimistic, but our first task, beat Tennessee. And I think we got it done if Christian Neptune's going to have himself a day like that. Somehow, though, in a 53-52 win at Neyland Stadium, we lost a ranking by beating Tennessee on the road. We're leaving the committee no choice, though, if we can take down Florida State, undefeated Florida State, number 5 in the country, at the Swamp to end this year. We got to be a playoff team if we win. Today, I've learned a great lesson, though. I got to stop playing so many games early in the season trying to sign recruits because we just got blown out by our rivals in the biggest game of this rebuild, and I couldn't hop into it because I already played 3 regular season games. You want to know what the problem is? It's not just Jarek Salam. Actually, the problem is Tyreek Vierling only rushing for 29 yards. This is why our playstyle's down. He's going to want to transfer at the end of the season because he doesn't think he got enough rushing yards, but it's his own fault. He's only averaging 4.1 yards per carry. We tried to set him up for success. Christian Neptune is going to be missed as a senior receiver. And on the quarterback side of things, yes, Jarek Salim struggled against Florida State, but he did pretty good for a true freshman. We've been obsessed with freshmen in this rebuild, though, and trying to give them chances to develop. The younger guys, we're going to continue to do that. We'll eventually find our guy. We are unranked, though, unlike all these other teams who had really good seasons. I know it's because we had 4 losses, but we're an SEC team. Just keep us ranked. UTSA's receiver getting the Heisman Trophy. Our bowl game, because we're not ranked, is going to be against Tulane, who's number 17. It's actually a really good matchup for us. If we can pull this off, we'd have the best record we've had in this rebuild so far. finishing 9-4. I actually really like that we've gotten Tulane in this matchup. We couldn't have gotten a better draw. We don't want a difficult opponent. They are good for a G5 school. Don't get me wrong, but I think we'll be okay. You have to think, our defense has been elite. We've been shutting out SEC opponents, including top 5 opponents, so we've basically done the exact same thing to Tulane. And they gave up in the final minute. They aren't even going to try and score on their last drive. They've just accepted that they were not the better team. This is going to cap off a really good season 4 that was a little unexpected. When we made our quarterback switch, I thought things could go downhill, but they didn't. And both of the 5 stars that we signed have elite development, so they will get very good very quick. There's one other player that has it too, Cam Potts, the free safety from Miami. Only 89 speed though. I'm very curious about Deontay Murphy. It's impact. That's not the end of the world though. And TCU won the national championship going undefeated. They were on a crazy run. Now there are some losses that we're going to have to depart with early. That's pretty frustrating. I don't mind Earl Dalton declaring for the NFL, but Dallas Scaife doesn't like our pro potential, except he's decided to stay. We're not going to get that lucky getting Tyreek Vierling to return for another season. But you know what? We kept around both our linebackers, so I will take that. When it comes to graduation, still losing like 5 or 6 starters, but nothing that we can't replace in either the transfer portal or just through some of our players progressing. It's taken John Sumerall a little bit to get his talent developer up, but we are now going to be able to get tier 3 on our offensive line, and we have 45 more coach points to spend. I think it's time that we start working on our quarterback because that is going to be key. We also have some more options in the portal from the state of Florida because we had success this season. So we're going to recruit players from some big schools. We're going to have a lot of 4 stars, 5 of them. And I just went back and noticed Theo Hardy has entered the transfer portal again. It would have been sick if he could come back to Florida. He cares about playing time, but he's already hit his top 8. I would like to note that we are looking outside the top 10 before we sign any transfers. But I have faith that we might be able to overcome that, and we are having to recruit back Brian Spriggs for like a 3rd time. At some point, that just gets old, and we have figured out the hard sell for Melvin Hack, but he's immediately going to Miami. He is from Miami, so he is staying in the city. They have him on a week 3 visit, which was lining up pretty well with us just failing to sign some of the 4-star transfers, but we still got a few. It's not like we needed a 4-star quarterback. It could have been interesting just to bring some competition in, but we didn't need him. We already have our answer. And with a 4-star elite dev center, we might have just signed the best player we could have for our offensive line. Since we didn't sign too many more 4 stars though, our class is going to finish at number 15. And I'll still stand on the fact that for only recruiting out of 1 state, that's pretty impressive. I really might have signed too many players this time around though, and not enough running backs. We only have 3, so we're going to move over this receiver. He just becomes a 77. We're actually going to need to focus in on that position soon, and I'm not even kidding. Our defense is so elite. I cannot find a spot for Tyrell Powell to even get onto the field, no matter where we put him. I'm going to leave him as a defensive tackle, but he was a 5-star recruit, so he's probably transferring. And I'm not kidding when I say I cannot find a spot for him on the defensive side of the ball. Look at how much better our team is this year versus the last one. Also, look at our cornerback speeds. We got 99, 98, 99, 99. It's nuts. And then our free safety, 95 overall, Cassidy Gator, 98 speed. Our linebacking core, pretty young, but it is very, very good. And it's just going to continue to get better. I cannot stress enough how good our defense is. And meanwhile, over on the offensive side of the ball, even though Jarek Salim's up to an 84, most likely increasing his accuracy a little bit and also getting up his IQ. We have just not seen the progression out of some of these players that we thought we would get. It's nowhere near what we have on the defensive side of things. Even some of our receivers are all right. Our tight end's progressing really well, but our offensive line is not. Pure possession is another archetype though that is just really good. Prince jumped up 17 overalls by improving his blocking a little bit. Next season, he might be a 99 overall. I'm not even kidding off of that. He has star development, and if he increases his blocking enough, he will get up there. This team is very lopsided though, with our defense being way better than the offense, and I have to make 13 cuts, which I don't even know is possible. I'm trying to get rid of some seniors that aren't going to see the field. Maybe we even get rid of some juniors with normal development, but we're only down to 94. And so you know what? That means freshmen with a normal development, they are also not going to be safe. It was hard, but we eventually made the right decisions to get rid of guys, and it got us up to a 99 overall. Now our offense is clearly not on the same level as our defense. It's not even fair to compare the two as both being 99. But we have the potential with this team to compete for a national championship, and if we're only replacing 10 players, it might be time that we start to only go through the portal. We saw what over-recruiting did for us last year. It really hurt us. If there's a key need on our team, we can still try to fill it alongside getting these 5 stars. But after going through and scouting a decent amount of guys, there's only 11 I'm leaving on the board, and I can't say I'm really thrilled about many of them. Like Sam Cushenberry, he is an 88 speed receiver. And at the top of our board, some of the 5 stars, like Ernest Willie, has 95 speed. That would be amazing. A 5-star gym at defensive tackle, another one, would be great. But whether or not we get those guys, I don't think make or breaks our future over the next couple years, so we don't have to hop into all the games at the beginning of the year trying to get them to sign. Michigan as a non-conference game is just ridiculous. Again, we have all Power 4 opponents. This is a brutal schedule. Whoever decided that is the schedule Florida should suffer through is an evil, evil man. And I will say, even though we have a stacked roster, I am a little bit surprised that we beat Michigan the way that we did. I just don't know how our offense is going to hold up for the season. We should be able to beat a team we're 30 overalls better than, but it's the 2 games after that I'm really wondering how we're going to do. I still think we should hop into at least one of those. We've played Missouri a lot, so we'll probably go in against Ole Miss. Even though I said I wasn't going to focus on trying to get players on visits and winning those games, I've scheduled a couple that we're not going to win the battles unless we win those matchups. So the first of the 3 regular season games that we're going to hop into this year is going to start here. I'm actually really excited to see what this team can achieve. I'm setting a very high standard just based off of the first few sims. But this game has basically been like an old Big Ten West game. I mean, we have done nothing on offense. That was supposed to be a comeback route, but it clearly was not. So you see the position that we're in. Down by 2 points with 3.5 minutes left. We can make the tackle. On second down, they hit us with an RPO, but again, we're solid on defense. I'm really not too worried there. They're going to get out the screen pass in time, but we can get over to them. And all it's going to take is us getting in field goal range to win this game, which won't be as easy as you might think. Ole Miss has clearly done something right against our offense, only getting a couple on the ground. But I'm still convinced that we'll eventually figure it out there, and we don't. It's not like a few yards of carries a bad gain, but I'm looking for a breakaway play. Those are the type of explosiveness things we need. And Jarek Salam has thrown 2 interceptions in this matchup. He's not having a good day. At some point, though, we will have to go back to the air unless he plans on scrambling for the first. Still 90 seconds on the clock. Very important to remember. We don't need to be in too much of a hurry. What we really don't want to do is force something that's just not there. Peters open on the hitch, but I am not feeling how we have performed still, whether we win or not. The championship hopes just completely went out the window. Unless Ole Miss defense is really like that, we could have played bad. But I have a feeling we're going to see our offense not show up to multiple games this season. Read option, working well. We needed one more block there. Shouldn't have stayed on our feet. The fact that we just scooped that up is so lucky. I don't even know why we were stiff-arming in that situation. All we had to do was slide because a field goal wins. Ole Miss is 2 timeouts. They can't do anything. We've had to learn a lesson, so we're taking a QB kneel. And unless the Rebels somehow block this kick, the game is over. It was not a pretty game for either team's offense, but that seems to be the type of matchup we get in against Ole Miss every season. It was a big visit week for us, so you're going to see multiple players signing to Florida with more to come in the future, but only if we're able to beat number 2 Mississippi in this next game. We got the defensive side of the ball coming in. We're going to get locked out of a running back, but that's okay. We're going after Spencer Babcock. If you remember the name Bobby Babcock, you're a channel legend. And I'm really sitting here questioning whether or not we sim this one. I feel like we can win it. We've played Missouri a lot, but they're a 91 overall. They've held their overall very well in this dynasty compared to most. I think we need to get some more variety in the future, though, so we just skipped past it. We're going to get 2 5-star signings. I feel like that's a pretty good sign that we did win. And look at that. We're 4-0. We're number 2 in the country, and only 2 players want to transfer, both due to playing time. We simply cannot please everybody, but this is another good win. It was by multiple possessions. And we're going to be hosting Tennessee, who's 2-2. After that, we have a bye week, so I think our recruiting class is really going to shape up, just skipping over those 2. By this point, if there's still players that haven't signed to either our team or another school, I'd be shocked, especially since we went out and beat the Volunteers as well. But I guess a week 7 visit for Andre just wasn't enough to convince him to come to Florida. He's the last player on our board that has not committed or chose Georgia. That was the one school that got another guy from us. That's nothing new though. Auburn 1-2 in conference play. We should still take them seriously. It's not easy to win at Jordan-Hare, but we can't hop into it. And that decision ended up being a mistake. Not only did they take us down, but they won by 14. It's going to cause us to fall from being tied for first place in the SEC down to number 12 in the polls as well. And if we can't bounce back against Vanderbilt, there's just something wrong with this team. Somebody has to be hurt. Thankfully, all went well there, but we're still not scoring as many points as I would like for a team that needs to contend for a national championship. We're not rushing the ball very well at all. It turns out maybe that was a deterring factor to Andre choosing Alabama. We still got 8 commits, and like I said, we didn't need that many this year. 4 of them are 5-stars. Plus, we can pick up some more in the transfer portal. We're about to head to Jacksonville, though, for 2 99 overall rosters to face off. Last season, we simmed this game against Georgia, and we miraculously won, so we're hoping to do it again. But I'll tell you what, if we don't pick up this 3rd and 11, which we're not going to do. Yes, we are. We are somehow getting this. And hope is back. I was about to say, I don't think we're going to be able to beat Georgia, but now we're running it down their throat. Dominic Connors is a running back that's been severely underrated. We recruited season 1, I think, but we just had him sitting on the bench. Now that he's getting more reps, he seems to be really elevating this offense further. If we were ever going to run the ball well, we had to make a switch at running back. But this is where we just do dumb stuff. Like, we were running the football so well. Why we decide to start passing, I don't know. Georgia is about to hold us to a field goal unless we can pick this up. And we got a wide open touchdown. It's just an unacceptable pass to miss. I know he's a sophomore. I know his accuracy still needs to get better. But Jarek has like 85 medium accuracy. That's a very hittable throw. We're playing underneath, but not underneath enough. If Georgia goes for the first down here by running the football, we are set up to stop them, but I saw that RPO coming. It's 4th and inches. That might be the greatest tackle and spot of the ball luck that we could have possibly gotten because they're punting it, and it's not a great punt either. And then it hit me. We have a 97 speed receiver that is very tall. Why don't we try and throw it up to him? He might not have been open here, but eventually he probably will be, and if running doesn't work the way it has been, then that's what we'll have to resort to. This is it. Huge 3rd and 7. We're going to look at our comeback, but we didn't get it out in time. So it is straight back to our defense needing to get a stop against Georgia. And is their returner going to get over to it? He does. We got to make a diving tackle. This game alone could dictate whether or not we make it to the college football playoff. We really need to win. And I think they're just going to hand it off again, this time getting 7. Truthfully, our run defense just needs to be better than that. I'm watching underneath there, and it's just not a good user. It wasn't. I think Georgia's about to start chewing the clock now and just running the football. Do we let them get in? We almost need to. What is even happening? 26 is not like that. We only have a minute to respond after all of it. And we got a 95 overall tight end out there, but I've not wanted to look in his way once. What are we doing? That's a 91 overall receiver getting clamped. We need Georgia to lose like 5 yards here. Getting a sack would be nice. Are we getting toasted with a 99 speed corner? We are. We were even pressing to the outside because I felt like we could guard them, but we just didn't. This has turned into an embarrassment from what was once a close game, which is why Malik Moon is getting this opportunity to just make a play for us. I truly don't see how we have any way back into this game. In fact, we're probably just going to throw another interception. But I have saved up our timeouts. By the time we score, not sure it's going to matter. We truly just need a miracle. And it's out of reach. It's out of reach. I thought we were going to have a quarterback that was going to own Georgia throughout his career, but that's not been the case. This kid definitely not winning the jump ball here either. Georgia can just take another interception. This team full of superstars. You should have known that as a 99 overall. And we also are a 99 overall, but we just didn't have an offense that could score more on their defense. There are very few games where we're going to be outmatched on the field, but that felt like one of them. And we can't get excited about a win over Kentucky. We really can't, despite having so many more total yards of offense because of the game coming up. At the moment, we are still in the running for a spot in the SEC championship. It's not a great shot because we need LSU to lose, and then I don't know what the tiebreaker would be, but we are at least still in the picture, and if we can beat number 13 Texas A&M, we would be comfortably in the playoff if we won out. What this means, though, is another year of having to sim against Florida State. That game will be out of our control. So that is why we have to make the most out of moments like this, down by 3. Jarek Salam having a little bit better of a game today. He has not thrown any interceptions. The handoff works to Connors. With Platinum Shifty, he really is taking over our running game. But will our defense be able to close this one out? We saw some struggles at the end of our matchup against Florida. If this is any type of screenplay, we would have been there to cover it, but we also needed to be over the middle. By now, we know that this is 4-down territory, which is why I don't mind sending a blitz here. And what is Texas A&M doing? They're sending out the kicker. It's a 62-yarder. Who is this kid? I just hit a whole other octave because they were kicking from the other side of midfield in college. What are we even talking about? That's probably going to be the reason that they win this game. We're going to find a way to give it back to them in the final 3 minutes, and then all they're going to need is a field goal. I just don't understand. I really don't understand how he hit that. A first down run for Dominic Connors, though, is a very good look to open up this drive. But now he's losing a yard. The Aggies start calling timeouts. And what a gaping hole for him to hit. I actually think if we mix in an RPO too, we might have him. They were not expecting a streak on the field. It was a great throw. It was a great catch too. And it's caused them to not just sell out to stop the run. With the option to throw there, we have picked up the final first down we needed to end this game. So even though they hit a super long field goal, we're still gonna win. And I think Dominic Connors has saved this offense. Leave it to Arkansas, though, to potentially end our playoff hopes. They're ranked number 20 in the country. This could be a difficult road game. And I was truly concerned, but look at that. We doubled the score against them, putting up 42. Our offense is fixed. I want to say it's Dominic Connors, but he averaged 2.7 yards per carry. It's not a great stat line. So maybe we have to slow down all of our praise for him. We could still get into the SEC championship if LSU loses this week. But that cannot be our concern. What we have to worry about is Florida State on the road, 5-6, and not capable of beating us as we win 28-26. At the same time, though, the Tigers won, moving up to number 4 in the country. Alabama is also going to sneak into the playoffs. So the SEC is about to put 4 teams in. I'm pretty sure we are going to have to play a first-round game. I don't think we're going to get a bye. It's going to be against Clemson. And our path to a championship is beating the Tigers and then beating Pittsburgh, potentially getting to face TCU, who won it all last year. And I feel like that could have been so much worse. We have been able to spend a couple more coach points as well to just increase the development of our running backs, which would really help for next season, just deciding who we're going to start. Brian Spriggs probably going to want to transfer again. He's not getting enough playing time. J.R. Sawyer, we could see if he takes a jump. Dominic Connors, only 575 yards. I thought his stats were going to come back a little bit better. Marco Moon is very close to 1,000 yards alongside Maurice Brewer. But the player to talk about, our quarterback, Jarek Salam, with his stats looking very identical to what they were last year. He did increase his completion percentage, but everything else is about the same, and we'll see how he does against Clemson. We get to host this at the Swamp. We have a home playoff game. If this team is not going to be headed on to the quarterfinals to face off against Pittsburgh, it's going to be a letdown. But do you see the position that we're in? Our offense has not showed up. We have about 6 minutes to save our season. 3rd and 9. We need Clemson to throw an interception or something. He tried to scramble, and that's good. We can keep it within 2 possessions, but I would have much rather preferred it only being 12. I feel like this entire season has just been me stepping into games and trying to damage control for a team that needed to play better. But something's not right with our play calling too. Dominic Connors only had 8 carries in this game. We see a mismatch that we like, and he snagged it. He snagged it straight out of his hands. I think that might be our season, guys. It's not over until it's over, but it sure feels like it probably is, unless we get the interception with Gator. Gator putting the Gators back in this game. He is a special free safety. That is what 98 speed will do for you. And we're just going to look over to the middle, slant, open, caught by Moon. And eventually, they said he got in. We're not going to challenge it or anything either. We're just going to go for the 2-point conversion. And Clemson is going to run the football to a 3rd and 8. This is the biggest play of the game. We're watching underneath. That was what I was worried about the most. And there's been a request from Cassidy Gator to go in as our punt returner. So what am I going to do? Tell the senior no? He is on fire at the moment. He's the only reason that we're back in this one. So we're going to let him get his first return of his career. Is it going to do anything? I don't know. He's fast. That's about it. And I genuinely think we might get Clemson to bite off of this play action. Wide open receiver, Malik Moon, 20 yards. You probably thought that our season was over. It wasn't looking very promising. I can't say this play is. We shouldn't even be throwing this, but we're going to run back to it. All of this for like a 10-yard gain. I think it was worth it. And again, play action. We're going to continue to pull it out. We got a corner route, and it's perfectly placed. Jarek Salam did not play good in the first 3 quarters, but he has come alive in this game. He's reaching his full potential. And I really don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we're going to have to figure out how to stop Clemson if we're able to score a touchdown. We don't deserve this, but Dominic Connors is stunting on him. This is it. All of the momentum is on our side. They throw the bubble. Why would you throw the bubble? What are you doing? Clemson is choking harder than ever before. And this is the type of win that you take into the next round of the playoff, that you take into the rest of the season and say, we can actually win a championship. This team has got me all sorts of fired up at the moment. Clemson just looks lost. So what do you do when a quarterback looks lost? You send pressure. We're sending 7 dudes at him, and they handed it off. I have no idea what the Tigers think they're going to pull off here, but no one's open again. Nobody. And they're done. Clemson is done. We just got to prevent the 4th down, and we do. Don't get me wrong. I thought they had that. I thought our coverage somehow gave it up. But luckily, they just weren't on the same page. And they do still have all their timeouts, but we needed that first, so we could just send them off this way instead of getting stopped and kicking 3. It's a beautiful thing whenever you can come back in the 4th quarter, putting up 22 to their 3 points and win. But for us to be in that position in the first place, I don't know what that means for how we'll do against other teams. I'm naturally just not as scared of Pittsburgh because I know their roster won't be as good as ours is. But I always feel like whenever I go into these games really doubting the team that we're facing off against and they can score something like 41 points per game, they shock us. If that happened here after what we just did against Clemson, it would be a devastating end to the year. And at this point, I don't even know what to say about our offense. It's still looking bad. As we head into the fourth quarter, we have only been able to put up 7 points on Pittsburgh, but we overcame a much larger deficit against the Tigers, so that is good news. We've come back against one ACC team. I don't see why we couldn't do it again. We just got to hang on to the ball. And I feel like our defense will end up holding it down for us. They roll out, and we miss the hit. That was a huge third down. It's unacceptable for us to not at least knock the ball loose or something. He almost got out. And there's just no way Pittsburgh is about to do this to us. They're out of bounds. We might regret this, but we're pressing heavy. They keep it, and we make the tackle. So we need a third down stop extremely bad, and we just left him so open. The longer this drive goes on for, the more I'm seeing our season fall apart, but it's an inaccurate throw. And that's all that we need. We can win this game with a field goal after marching down the field. Now I feel like Pittsburgh is expecting another run, which is why we're trying to draw their defense out. That throw is very light. And if it had a little bit of zip to it, I think we would have picked up the first down and gotten a huge gain. Instead, they're reading us like a book. That match coverage just threw us off. This can't be it. This cannot be how our season ends with the Gators. We're going for the deep post to Peters, and he cooks him. He cooks him. I've learned that if we need a jump ball, he is going to be the kid that answers for us. Good read of the situation, but that should have been a fumble. And if we can catch them in man-to-man coverage with a little quick snap here, we're going to roll out, and we're going to have a touchdown. That is such a tight throw. This is where our defense earns its credit, though, and they got us with another bubble. I almost feel like we just got to counter this by pressing a lot of guys, sending a blitz, except if they keep it and their quarterback's that quick, you risk potentially giving up a touchdown. That should have been one. I'm really not sure what his obsession is with hurry-up offense, though. I think he's about to just make me sit here for 30 seconds, and that's okay. We forced them to make a good read, which they did. From this point, we have one more chance to stop them. I guess if we want our guys tighter in coverage, we're just going to have to press. It's not really what I prefer with our season on the line, but here we go. 3rd and 10. Looking for that cut. We get the sack, and there is no guarantees they hit this kick, but they drilled it. Touchdown moves us on to the semifinals, and I believe that this team is capable. We just have to have our faith when Dominic Connors is playing like this. But what would really help is if we could get Peters one-on-one coverage deep. They're probably going to be smart and cover him here, which is why we threw it to our tight end. He might have still been one-on-one, though. I was a little bit hesitant to make that type of read. We're going to pump fake, and we went for a deep one. That was kind of dumb because we've set ourselves up for a 3rd and very long that we didn't even get the football out on. I don't know what we're thinking. I genuinely don't. We got to come back to that. They get a hand on it. It has happened. It has happened. We lost to Pittsburgh. We lost to Pittsburgh. We did not move on to the semifinals. And this is going to be hard on this team where a lot of our best players are declaring early for the draft. At least we can know we lost to a team that made a run all the way to the national championship. The state of Pennsylvania represented by 2 teams there. I don't think I've ever seen that before, but Penn State won. And it makes no sense how we're about to lose all 3 of our top receivers. I guess there's still a chance that they return. Rashawn Peters, though, he is gone for good. Maurice Brewer is coming back. He wanted to transfer due to playing time at one point. And Deontay Murphy, he is not sticking around. I think he saw that we had our future. No, he did come back. We are going to go for James Hurley. No luck there. Brian Spriggs also said he didn't want to return, so I guess we'll be recruiting him in the transfer portal again for some of these low chances of returning. I don't think we're getting lucky. And that is a lot of departures from this team. We're going to have a lot of seniors that graduate, but I will say there is one benefit to getting drafted, and that is talent developers. You can see for each of these positions, we get bonus XP whenever those positions are drafted. And not only does John Sumerall get that, but we also have it on Russ Callaway for all of these offensive and defensive positions, which means it's double the reward. All of these position groups now will get so much XP to progress all the players in that group during the offseason. And the craziest part is it's before training results. Maurice Brewer has 33. We got 39 on Jaquez Way. I think I just saw 46 on Prince, so we are going to have the best tight end in the country. It's not even close. And on top of the 8 high schoolers that we've already signed, we still have the transfer portal period to continue to build out this roster. I only saw 2 elite dev players. But you know what? For 8 guys, it's a solid number, and we're probably going to be recruiting back some players that we failed to get out of high school or that have left our team in the past. There are a ton of 4 stars from Florida interested. I can't promise promise that we're going to have a ton of success signing all those 4 stars because they're a lot more challenging to recruit than just 3 stars. You have to be almost perfect with how you manage your recruiting in the portal to get them, but our school grades are in a really good spot, the best spot they've been at this entire video. Now, after spending a lot of time looking at some of these players, I decided what I wanted more than anything else was some receivers on this team, and it looks like we might be able to get a couple of them, though some of these other battles aren't looking as promising. And the only reason we even stand a chance is because we guessed hard sells correctly, but again, we had him on a visit last week, and it still wasn't enough to beat out Ohio State with a better pipeline. One way or another, though, we're going to at least get one of our guys, which is good. I think Ohio State ended up getting 2 of those receivers. And one thing I've noticed, whether it's 4 stars or 3 stars, is we really specialize at getting defensive backs. For some of the big positions that I was trying to sign, though, like left guard or halfback, it's Miami that has come out of nowhere, and they have a week 4 visit, so we can't do anything. We just have to accept that we're going to lose that battle while we continue to sign more cornerbacks and defensive players. I told you all the 3-star transfers wouldn't be as challenging, but when it came to the 4-star transfers, we were only able to get about half of them, which is what I thought we'd get. And just take a look at this run of dev traits. It's the best dev trait run we've had, and it's mostly 3 stars. Star, star, elite, star, star. For all the 4-star transfers, they're coming in with impact development. There are so many cornerbacks. But we have done it. We have signed a top 10 class. In fact, we signed a top 5 class, so we're really getting to that next level with Florida. We're also going to be able to add to our running back depth, even though we couldn't pick up one in the transfer portal because this gadget receiver becomes an 86 overall there. And it looks like we have some even better news as our quarterback has gotten a dev trait upgrade. That's going to bring him up to a 90 overall, and I had no faith in him developing for us when he first committed to the team. In fact, I said he will never see the field, but his accuracy has gotten so good, and as a senior, it would max out. I just don't know if he'll even stay at Florida. Between all the progression points that we were able to get by just our players getting drafted, and then these training results, this team is so much better than last year's. And it's not even close. I went in, I manually progressed all the players that were already on the roster that had those extra skill points, and then I let the auto progression take over for some extra bonuses. But just doing some manual progression on like the 30 skill points that these players had has drastically changed their development, making this defense basically the greatest defense ever. In recent rebuilds, I've liked to keep most of the player progression on auto, but if we earned extra skill points by our players getting drafted, I felt like it was worth it just getting to progress them a little bit myself, and it really changed everything. You'll notice our weakest spot on this team is our offensive line because there was no players drafted there, so there were no skill points to spend, which is why the overalls are a lot lower. And it even saved what our receiving core was going to be, though I will say I'm very disappointed Dominic Connors didn't grow at all. I have a feeling that the 4-star might have maxed out his skill caps, though. His elusiveness can't get any better, and they didn't decide to progress his quickness, but I might still make him the starter anyway. I truly believe that this team should just walk their way into the playoff. They should also be able to win a national championship. We had to cut 2 players. They had normal dev, but nothing more after that. Looking at our schedule, Arizona State is a non-conference game where our buys are also set up horribly. Why is Notre Dame also on the schedule? This just doesn't even seem fair. We did get a better conference draw. And you know what? I've not edited the schedules at all, but we are going to move the Notre Dame and Arizona State game a little bit back so this team isn't fully worn out mid-season off of 12 straight games. Since we have 24 seniors, though, we do still need to make sure we recruit just in case things go really wrong in sim. I've seen it happen. And yes, with teams about as good as we are right now, I didn't even win a championship in my 5-year Clemson rebuild. I really don't want to talk about it, but that is why we have to continue to build for the future because there is no cap on how many years this can take. At the very minimum, we just need an option at quarterback to go for in case ours declares for the NFL draft early. I think it's going to be the 5-star. And Ciante Tongues is a gem with 99 speed. He's a contested specialist. He is 6'6", 204 pounds, and he also has the gold 50-50 ability. What I was never expecting to see, though, whenever I opened up the Heisman Trophy watch list, was seeing Juan Timms at Bowling Green projected to win the Heisman Trophy. He started his career with us. He never saw the field once, so he transferred there, and he has not left. He's got 8 touchdowns, 1,300 yards last season, and he didn't declare for the NFL draft. He decided to come back. He was just a 3-star recruit, by the way. I think that's going off of his transfer rating because he was 100% a 5-star at one point. 99 speed. Just imagine what this team would look like with him on it as well. It would be the easiest national championship of all time. We're about to head on the road to Notre Dame, but they lost their first game. And we are going to have a chance at signing all the players that were on our board from the start, which is a good thing, including Damian Moffitt. I still think we should be ranked at least number 2, but LSU's in front of us. We know Georgia probably deserves it until we can prove we can beat them. All 4 teams here are in the SEC at the top. And that means we might find ourselves in a spot tomorrow where we lose to a couple of those teams, and I feel like there's nothing I can do. You know what I can do, though? I can shovel snow. That's about all that I've done today. We got a lot of snow in in Kentucky. And why does that matter for this rebuild? It doesn't. I was just telling y'all what I've been up to so far. I hadn't shoveled snow in a long time since I lived in Florida for a couple years. It felt good too. We got a linebacker matched up on Brewer, so we're taking that shot. He still gets a hand to it. And that forced us to punt it back to Notre Dame, so we've got to get a stop against them. We're playing that ball all day. I have messed up a user there before. It wasn't happening again. We can also take off for about 20. And Dominic Connors had Heisman shifty for a second, so I kept feeding him. But he did absolutely nothing with it. He lost 2 yards per carry twice, which makes it 3rd and 14. It's about to get a bit closer, but all is good. We pull out the RPO. They're going to play it, and they stopped us. This is the best team that we've had, and we're about to lose to Notre Dame. It's a bad throw, but I think they're going to stay through the air, trying to pick up a first down that they're not getting. This is the biggest play of the game right here. We know that they're probably running the football, and we're all over it. So we have gotten our opportunity to move it down the field and have one final good drive with the touchdown. That gets us past midfield, so it's a very solid start. But the Notre Dame defense has been strong. I can't believe that they lost a game with how good they've been. Part of that could just be the fact that we have to play this one on the road, and that keeps it alive for a little bit longer. They immediately got in on the halfback screen, so it's not going far, leaving us with just a minute left on the clock. And what a play from our left tackle. Salam is going to have a huge run on the ground, but we're not in the end zone yet. We've taken down some clock in case we scored on this run, because I don't want to give Notre Dame the ball back. Not with the amount of time that they could have had. They had defensive backs flipping across the field, and we're going to pick it up. Come on, all the way in. That should not have worked. But the speed option, even though it was botched, got us the win. Once again, it is Dominic Connors that is going to save this team. And next up on the schedule, we have number 13 Arizona State, because Florida can never have an easy non-conference game. Even though Arizona State moved it for a little bit more yards than we did, we beat them by 10. And somehow the first player on our recruiting board to lock us out isn't going to be any of these 5 stars. It's going to be the 4-star quarterback that we didn't really want. We have a really huge game coming up at Bryant-Denny Stadium. We're going to hop into it, taking on number 4 Alabama. And this is another really tough test for us, just like the Notre Dame game. As we head into the final 2 minutes, we find ourselves in front by 7, but Alabama's driving. So we're going to have to find a way to keep them out of the end zone, and we played some soft coverage. It didn't take long for Brian Higgins to notice that, though we should have gotten a pick. And I am sure that's not the last time that he's going to make a mistake. We just can't be giving up that hitch. It turns out it's 3rd and 1. They're going to run the football, and we're all over it. Somehow making it 4th and 1, but they're rechecking the spot of the ball. I was about to say, if that wasn't a first down, I'm not sure what would be. And they just keep on going underneath against us, but we had the pick. They finally threw it where they shouldn't. Read option keeper is going to get them the touchdown. So with a minute remaining, we have to get into field goal range, and I think we will. Jarek Salam in this game has no interceptions, just about 300 passing yards. But we could not get that run to slip out of there. They bit on the play action for a second, and there's just no way. It is a massive 3rd and 11. Alabama is going to give up the seam. And we just got ourselves a little bit closer to field goal range. We have like a 91 overall kicker, by the way. I recruited him at the beginning of this rebuild, and he's developed extremely well. Halfback dive, straight up the middle, first down. And we might as well get off one more before we just kick our 3. The arrow is going to be shaking a bunch, but we ran one extra play, so they weren't able to ice us here. And I'm not sure if we hit this kick. Never mind, it's straight down the middle. Well, that is how you close out another game against a top opponent. And unfortunately, since we waited to schedule some visits, these 5 stars aren't going to be able to come in until week 8 against Mississippi State, which wouldn't even help us much. Even though they have the same record as Auburn, Auburn was giving us a bigger bonus for some of those visits. We just weren't able to schedule them in time. And as we continue to win, we still have a few players that want to transfer, but most of them are just declaring for the NFL draft. In our next game against Vanderbilt, Larry Dally had 3 interceptions. And it's no question that we continue to stay as the number 1 team. We're about to have to head on the road to number 11 Missouri, which we're still going to simulate, even though they're undefeated, because I see the game against Georgia. I see the game against Tennessee. There will be other tough ones that come up, and it's better to lose early in the season than later in the season, if we even happen to lose. I still felt pretty confident that we'd be able to handle them, and we did, but by 3 points. It was closer than I would have liked for the roster we have. But then I realized, as good as we are at developing talent, we don't have like any coaches that have much in tactician besides our defensive coordinator, and this is barely helping out our stats stats besides to our defense. It's going to be pricey. It's going to cost 40, but I've decided to purchase Tactician so we can go down this pathway and really just improve our offensive line, since that was the worst part about this team. It's also important to note that before our game against Mississippi State, we can still sign 3 of these 5 stars, one of them already committed to Miami. And it was the best one available, but he made his decision before he could even visit Gainesville. Maybe he just didn't want to see an uncompetitive game though, where we were up 35-0 headed into halftime. And I'm not sure it even impressed some of the other 5 stars as much, because only one of the 3 ended up committing. As well as we're playing on the field, since we're not putting much effort into signing more players, our class is not going to be good. But as long as we win a championship, none of that matters, and we're one step closer, even though Arkansas almost shocked us. We can only hop into one more regular season game, and like I said, it probably needed to be against Georgia, who's currently 6-1. You would think it would really solidify our spot in the SEC, though there are plenty of other one-loss conference teams. We could still find our way out of the SEC championship if we lost to a team like Tennessee or the Bulldogs. But this is the game to put all of the emphasis on, because like last year, both of our teams are 99 overalls. I remember getting extremely frustrated last year in Jacksonville facing off against them. But things do feel different this season. As you can tell, our offense has had themselves a day, and we're basically just running it up versus Georgia at the end of this game. We're down to the 4. The best part is Dominic Connors hasn't even needed to play well. He literally has less than 20 rushing yards, and we're still going to be all right. We roll out, we find him, he breaks the tackle, and we can wave goodnight to the Georgia fans. This was complete BTA, and it's something that we needed to feel better about last year. And I know this doesn't even seem relevant at the moment because we're performing so well, but Damian Moffitt did commit, so we got a 5-star quarterback next year. It's starting to seem like we're going to finish the end of the regular season undefeated, though. And I really hate that we did my Kentucky Wildcats this way, but we beat them 56-0. The good thing is, in real life this year, that's how we did Florida as a Kentucky fan. We destroyed them. The result here was just a video game, and I'm still so excited about the Will Stein hire. I'm actually going to the Kentucky basketball game tonight at Rupp Arena. We're facing off against North Carolina. I'm hoping that we can win, and who knows, he might be introduced there. We beat Tennessee 42-30, so we're 11-0. All we have left on our schedule, Florida State. We have locked ourselves into the SEC championship that is most likely going to be against Georgia. It'd be pretty devastating though if Florida State ended this undefeated season, and they shouldn't have if we're staying as the number 2 team in the country. But why are we not number 1? I feel like if you look at all of these wins that we have throughout the season, that is 4 top 15 teams that are still ranked there. It would be impossible to say that Clemson has faced a harder schedule than we have. They played an FCS school not once, but twice. They also played Sam Houston. We didn't have a single team that wasn't a Power 4 opponent on our schedule. Why are they ranked above us? Again, they only beat 2 ranked teams. I really hope that we end up seeing them in the playoffs, so we have a chance to prove that we're the best team in the country. 40 points per game out of this offense. We're about to win an SEC title. And for Oklahoma to be in this one instead of the Bulldogs, they must have beat them with the head-to-head tiebreaker. Another thing that's gone right for us this season is we've had no key injuries, and that's been a reason that we've been able to stay as consistent as we have. I should probably be careful about saying anything like that though before we lose our starting quarterback in one of these games, and we might even be able to win without him due to how great our defense has played. By the end of this game, we have just maintained our lead. They're just sending up prayers. And it was never really close. We were the best team in the SEC this season. Is it enough for us to be ranked number 1? Probably not, because they've handed the Heisman Trophy to Clemson's quarterback. I have to see how our stats stack up to his. We are still getting a bye. And you know what? Jarek Salam was nowhere near those stats. He didn't have 4,300 passing yards. He didn't have 38 touchdowns. On the ground, Dominic Connors, though, 12 touchdowns. Vantrese Tandy had 14. And I'm just confused how Maurice Brewer wants to transfer due to playing time, since he was one of our main 3 receivers, but he just has never been happy at Florida. From the looks of it, we might be playing Notre Dame again. I wouldn't mind that with it being on a neutral site, but it turns out that the higher seed, USC, was able to beat them. We also lost our talent developing offensive coordinator throughout all of this, which means we're going to have to make a new hire, and Steve Wheeler is the perfect replacement. As for how the playoff picture is shaping up, Penn State beat Louisiana Monroe 80-6. I don't even know how Louisiana Monroe made the playoff in the first place, but Penn State looks good, and that could be who we'd face in the semifinals if we're able to handle business and take down the Trojans in the quarterfinals. USC doesn't worry me that much just because they beat a team that we also beat. And we've handled good teams all year, but what worries me is, as you can see, we needed this interception real bad because we are only up by 1 point. We've got them on a 4th and 9. Game on the line, and they just send it up. That works. There is still the 2-minute timeout though, and they also have their timeouts remaining, so this one's not done. I'd really prefer if we didn't get held to a field goal, though they're all over the run. We might just need to return to RPOs, unless Dominic Connors can get to the outside and make sure that he ends it himself, forcing USC to burn their final timeout and letting us take a knee. That right there is a perfect example of how to close out a game. And we don't even need to worry about Penn State because Michigan took care of them. On the other side of the bracket, we're setting up for a rematch against Georgia, who we annihilated, but I don't want to face them again. I still feel like that was kind of a fluke. I don't think Kirby Smart lets his team get beat in embarrassing fashion 2 times in a row. We have brought out the blackout jerseys one final time for this matchup, and Michigan's offense just hasn't kept up well with ours. We're currently up by 16 points, and they just continue to run the football. It's all that's worked, but they need to start scoring points quick, and why are we not guarding him? I really don't understand that, but their 2-point conversion play call, it got us. And so we've successfully continued to run the ball to about midfield. We should have thrown the RPO, but at some point, Michigan is going to have to get a stop against Dominic Connors, who is dominant. As they bring everybody inside, and he is Heisman shifty, I trust him to just get to the outside of this with his speed, make a defender miss, reach for the first, and come so close to putting this game out of reach. We're trying to get them to bite off of the play action, and they just left Brewer open. I don't know why he wants to transfer. He's our slot receiver. You can see that we use him. It just doesn't make much sense to me. We might get in, but that would give Michigan a low opportunity to get back in it, so we want to be stopped on the 1. This 4th and inches better not get blown up. It was aggressive, but the quarterback sneak puts us on to the championship. I felt pretty comfortable about that one, seeing how we controlled most of it, and I guess we just get to go through Big Ten teams for our entire run because Nebraska beat Georgia. I just can't see the Cornhuskers messing up our perfect season. If you look at our best 10 players, the lowest overall is a 94, whereas for Nebraska, it's an 88. Though if there's one thing going for them that I just noticed, they have a really solid defensive line, so we'll see how that does. This one is going to be played inside of a dome. I couldn't tell which one it was off of that angle, but I think it's going to be the Arizona Cardinals Stadium, and just look at what our defense has done. We've held them to 6. In fact, after that, we also got a pick 6 with them. It was never a close national championship. It was boring from the very start. I wish it was a more interesting ending to this video than that. But Nebraska didn't put up a fight, so it's their fault. I guess it should feel pretty easy, though, to win whenever you have 4 first-round picks, 20 players from this team eventually drafted on to play in the NFL. And that concludes one of the most disappointing decades for Florida, all the way up until 2031. I didn't think Jarek Salam had it in him, but he sure did with 171 as his quarterback rating during his junior season. And part of me just wants to load up a Kentucky rebuild with Will Stein as our head coach for my next video, but I've already done a Kentucky rebuild this year. I might wait until college football 27. Maybe it's the first rebuild I do. I don't know. Or I could just do it soon anyway. Plenty of rebuilds coming in the future. Love you boys. Appreciate you making it this far. Check out some more.